All right, Heath, you're going to laugh at me. I went back and watched our last episode, which was measurement. And at the time, it made perfect sense to me that what you wanted to talk about next were suppliers and supply chain management. I don't remember how we got there. Can you bring me back in?
Yes. So, and I think this is actually even a challenge for a lot of people talking about their kind of supply chain vendors, contractors, whatever that is. And when you talk about the experience that a customer has within your organization, there's this moment where your workforce is taking care of the customer in some way, shape, or form. Well, sometimes we forget that there's all kinds of other people outside of our organization that are making that happen. And so if I relay back to some role model organizations, a lot of them really treat their suppliers, whatever they call them, as part of the team. They incorporate them in their mission, vision, and values. They're helping move their strategy forward. A lot of them bring them in their strategic plan. They understand that just because that team is not inside, the customer doesn't care. The customer just sees the overall experience, and so they're just as important and should be treated as just as important.
Interesting.
And so I think, we were kind of bantering back and forth about some things, and you said there was a really important story. I think you should tell them.
Yes, so I remember now. Thank you for reminding me. So what made it click for me was an instance several years ago where I was out to dinner, family in from out of town sort of thing. So we were a large group, and I was fairly young. I didn't have a lot of money. So I picked a restaurant that I thought we could afford. It wasn't super high end, but a nice sit-down restaurant. When the server presented the bill at the end of the meal, I went to put my credit card in the little black folder like you do. And she said to me, "I'm sorry, ma'am, our credit card machine is down. You'll have to find another way to pay." Let me ask you, Heath, do you ever carry enough cash in your wallet to pay for 10 or 12 people out to dinner?
Not if it's mine.
Absolutely, right? And especially at this time in my life. So I said, what would you recommend I do? I don't have a second credit card. I don't have enough cash. And the server got a little bit miffed at me. She said, "Ma'am, this isn't my problem. The credit card machine is down. That doesn't even happen here. That's not us. It's a different company." Now I know that's a supplier, right? But was clearly not a partner to this process. So as I moved along into business and started to understand this concept of supply chain management, it then made sense to me. The customer is experiencing the whole thing as one complete thought. So when your process fails, when your credit card machine doesn't work, it might not be your fault, but the customer doesn't care. I never went back to that restaurant.
So it's interesting because I have been on all sides of this. I've been a contractor. I've been the one working with contractors. I've been in an organization that treats their contractors, suppliers, vendors very well, and I've been in one that doesn't. At the end of the day, all the customer sees is that you're taking care of them. Role model organizations treat their customers well. And I think you've talked to me about a tool you've used, and I've used it as well to really kind of help an organization do this, and it's fairly simple. Talk to us about a SIPOC.
Absolutely. So again, many tools to do this, and we'll probably drop some others in the notes. My personal favorite is my favorite because it's so simple. It's called a SIPOC. That last letter is C, and it stands for customers. So we start at the end with what does the customer actually want, right? We've talked about that before. When you map the customer's experience on the wall, you start all the way at the other end with S, which is for supply chain. Who are giving your organization things? Who are bringing things in that are ultimately going to impact that customer? So we go from the S for supplier to the I. What are the inputs? What are the actual raw goods, materials, books, education, whatever it is coming in? P, my favorite, for process. Once it's in your four walls, what steps are you taking? What are you going to do with it to create O, the outputs, the things that you're producing for the customer? And that leads us all the way back to C. Did you actually give the customer what you want? But I think it's a really neat way on one page to capture everything that happens that could ultimately touch that customer's experience.
So Heather, this reminds me of something. You said something in one of our previous episodes, the term integration. And I think what you experienced and what I heard was a server that was pretending integration didn't exist. And so if I just blame somebody else, you won't blame me. And in the reality, they probably did more damage than if they just would have solved it.
Absolutely. So are you suggesting we should discuss integration in a future episode, Heath?
Yeah, and probably how you do continuous improvement with internal, external, and your team. That would be a good episode.
All right, I'm in. In the meantime, food for your thought. What are your credit card machines? Who's providing them to you? And is the customer having a good experience?